Welcome to the Chess Angle. My name is Neil. I am the founder and director of the Long Island Chess Club in New York. This podcast is all about chess, tournament play, and improvement at the amateur and club level. First, some quick housekeeping. I now have a dedicated Twitter page for the podcast. It's at the Chess Angle. Once again, at the Chess Angle. I will provide updates about the podcast, episode previews, things like that. So if you're a Twitter person, be sure to check that out. Now let's get to the content. As you know, I generally favor slower time controls, but I wanted to hear a different viewpoint, especially because faster time controls, blitz, and online chess are so popular now. So for this interview episode, I spoke with National Master Tyrell Harriott. Tyrell is very active in the New York chess scene and runs the Kings of Queens Chess Club. He's also an outstanding speed chess player. He spoke about the benefits of speed chess and how it can actually help you in slower games. And I'm defining speed chess as any faster time control, anything quicker than game 30 for the most part. Tyrell definitely gave me some new perspective about quicker time controls, and I hope you find our conversation equally enjoyable. My chat with Tyrell begins right now. So Tyrell, how are you? Welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Neil. Yeah, I was actually looking forward to it because I know you have a lot of members. Your club is pretty awesome.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. So let me ask you, what have you been up to recently as far as your own playing? I know you had some interesting tournaments and some interesting opponents. Maybe you could tell us about that a little bit.
Oh, okay. I been running some week Masters chess tournaments lately, where it's under 2,400. Doing a training camp for World Open. Been pretty successful at World Open. Recently just came from Foxwoods, where I played Grandmaster Ben Feingold, and I got a nice victory against him, even a nice video about it. So that's been pretty cool. He ended up going into a line I call the Harriott's tickle. So
Okay.
caused him to spend a lot of time, and I was able to put on some pressure on him.
All right, that's pretty cool. Now tell me about the King of Queens Chess Club. All right, we have a little bit of a connection. I was born in Queens. I was actually born in Astoria General Hospital. I don't even know if it's there anymore. I might be dating myself a little bit, but tell me about the King of Queens Chess Club, because I saw you meet at a billiards club. So I wasn't sure if that's while it's going on or if you rent the place out. But tell me about that club, what kind of tournaments you run and things like that.
Okay, so we run rated US CF events, and it's really cool because I just got to give a little backstory first before it got started.
Sure.
Because it was COVID, and I had to get my chess on, and so I had set it up an online club, and I reached out to all my friends, which was like Lenderman, Yuri Lapshin, Leif Pressman, so all my Marshall Chess Club people. Because I had to still get my good competition on. It's hard to get this competition. And I set up online, and we were playing online all the time throughout the whole pandemic. Had these tournaments. And then when they finally lifted off the restrictions, we started boning, and I started meeting up in Cunningham Park. And then if we finally began to realize, hey, it was getting too cold. And then we started, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to Steinway, and started running the tournaments there. And it was like we were able to play without being in the cold, and that turned out to be perfect. And I'm glad, one in a chess club, you never know what the turnout's gonna be. And the rent, you never know what's gonna, it almost might not even work out unless you probably own the building. But the owner at the time, it was hard getting people in the place, and I was just trying to keep chess players together. So you had people that feared playing inside, people that feared playing outside. They didn't want to be outside in the cold. And I was like, you know what? I just want to get people out here. So I said, listen, if someone's going to have to play outside, and even though it's cold, we gotta go out there for that 1 hour and play out there, because he's going to be out there all day. And I was able to keep chess players together. And I have something worked out with the owner where, you come in, you buy food, we're there like for 4 or 5 hours, buy some food. And it's been working out pretty great.
That's awesome. Now, what kind of time controls are you using?
Well, I'm using my absolute favorite time control, which is game 25. I believe that's, where Kara Nakamura, all these strong players got really strong playing game 25 and got those high ratings. It's really useful. It's actually the lowest time control to count as your regular rating as well.
In other words, so now, do you have a 5-second delay attached to that?
Yes,
okay.
There's a 5-second delay.
Right, because I think for it to count as a regular rating also, it has to add up to 30 with the delay. I think that's the rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if it was game 25 delay 0, it would just be quick rated, I believe, right? As far as USCF, something like that. All right, but anyway, it's game 25.
Yeah, that's correct. Everything you're saying is game 25 with a 5-second delay.
Right. Okay.
And it counts towards the regular rating.
Right. And you like that. Now, why do you like that time control?
All right. First off, let me just say that time control versus playing a game 90 once a week. Sorry. I'm sorry. I just can't.
Well, no, listen, having different perspectives, that's what makes the conversation go forward. That's what makes a good discussion, right? If every time I say something and everyone says, yes, I agree. No, I'm curious why you feel that way, because maybe I'll learn something. So go ahead. Feel free to poke fun at my game 90 all you want.
Yeah. So game 90, you only get one. I used to play the Queen's Chess Club. And, it's one game a week. And the tournaments go on for like a month or something,
Right.
So it takes so long before ratings get to go up. You don't get to see your improvement as fast. The game 25, you get 4 rounds. If you lose one game, you don't have to go through that whole week thinking about that big mistake you made that one game. No, you get to bounce back right away, go play, get your head right. Just like if you make a bad move, like you can't dwell on that bad move. You got to move on to the next one. And, it gets rated faster. So you can see your improvement faster. And, have people that shoot up a lot of points. If you really want to achieve master, I feel like get those games in. You got to get the games in, and you could play more than many tournaments at the same time to really get at it. So that's my big preference about it. And you learn to calculate faster, adapt to the change in time,
It's an interesting perspective. No, I have to you do get more games in, and it's true, because if you've had a stinker of a game, you're right back in it. So you're forced to kind of forget about it and just move on. But now, so that's rating, but as far as the actual game itself, like, you're comfortable moving that quickly? Like, talk to me about that. Is that a different thought process for you than, I mean, obviously it's a different thought process than a classical game, but do you change your strategy? Is there a certain way you play? Because, game 25, that goes pretty quickly, especially in person. So do you make any adjustments for that?
Well, of course, you definitely, people study, and you're going to study your theory, right? So now you have opportunity to study your theory, prepare if you see some people that you already know. It's a club, so sometimes you run into the same people, so you have lines you can try out. It's just like blitz chess, where, you try out stuff, but now you really get to change your rate of play, where you have some time to actually think and pace yourself. And, my big thing is that you have to be able to switch gears. You have to be able to know when you need to play fast, know when you need to play slow, and be able to deal with the pressure. I see a lot of players that when they practice blitz, they practice flat time controls, like only 3 minutes flat or only 5 minutes flat. I believe they lose something there, because when their time gets low, they don't readapt to like, okay, now I have time to think. So playing with the increment is a huge plus. Play with the increment and be aware of how much time you got left. Even the delay, playing with a 5-second delay is also really good, because, hey, I got some time now. I can breathe. I don't have to rush so much, but you have to be able to switch gears.
It's interesting. So now, do you prefer, are you more of a tactical player, or will you play even a more positional style, even in a game 25, and kind of squeeze your opponent? Is that even viable? Or is it more attack?
So anyone that knows my style, they know that I'm famous for the Stonewall, and for the Philidor's defense, Black Line. and they consider those defensive openings. So it's more structural played, which is definitely positional ideas, and kind of hold the position. And yeah, I get an attack, usually on the king side. So yeah, I don't really. I'm actually someone I try to actually avoid tactics. I try to make sure I'm the only one with opportunities. So yeah, my
Okay.
style is definitely more positional.
Right. And then what happens, let me just guess, you'll get sort of a positional bind. They're not sure what to do, and then they just end up blundering. Is that sort of accurate?
Yeah, a lot of people aren't familiar with these openings so much. So yeah, they don't know what to do. Their time is low because they really don't know what to do. But even if they had more time, they still wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
But yeah, they crumble or they make weak moves, you know.
Right. Now, how are you in these game 25s? Do you find yourself getting into time pressure, but because you're a master, you have the chops to handle that, or are you really good at time management?
It really depends on the player. So for instance, when I run these tournaments, a matter of fact, a lot of times it's almost like I'm playing a cycle, because I'm not just sitting there at the board. A lot of times I'm doing stuff with the parents or setting up the cameras because I'm also streaming. You know, having having experience from playing the same opening, it makes me pretty comfortable, and I'm able to do multiple things at the same time. And then you have these other players that they get their time. Like I have a lot of Scholastic players that come and play as well. Even adults play, which I think is very important. I like to keep the mixing because it builds confidence when a child sees that they could beat an adult as well, but it's really just about skill level. But yeah, I do multiple things as I'm playing. That's one thing I really like about Steinway is that there's I can run my tournament my way. I have a digital device also recorded. I also use a DGT board, so people could track it online. I've streamed the games so people could see the excitement. I also feel that's one of the major things that's why chess isn't popular. People aren't able to see actually amateur players play. If family members could see their family playing, it will definitely build more of a hype, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting stuff. So I spoke about in previous episodes about what it's like playing and directing. You seem to be more comfortable with it than I am, but you agree. I just want to make sure I heard you right. You have your choice of openings that you use and you stick with those, correct?
Yes, I definitely stick with my pet lines. Of course, if I'm going against someone that gave me a problem, I'll switch up and play something else. And even though I'm not at the board, I'm still thinking actively about the position and the ideas, and being able to do that is a huge plus.
Game 25 is pretty quick. I mean, it's not like playing a 5-minute game, but it's still pretty quick. And it sounds like you're not playing for traps or, you're not trying these sort of like cheesy swindles. You're playing chess. You're doing it quickly, but it sounds to me like you're playing fundamental solid chess, correct?
Yes, I'm playing fundamental solid chess. Also, there's one other thing, a huge advantage that I have over you right now. Right now, I have the 2200 original Life Master floor. And I guess the stress of worrying about going down rating points doesn't affect me as much as many other players where they have to be like, man, I'll go down. That and the fact that I'm close to my floor. I mean, most I've gone up since I've made the floor is probably 2240, but a lot of quality players come through where I am. I mean, and these quality players, they've all, the ones that have made master there, like Pedro Espinoza, beat a grandmaster after making master of my tournament. Leonardo Liu beat a grandmaster after making master at my tournament, Joshua Block, another frequent player that's beaten Jay Bonin many times. He won the Marshall Masters tournament, and so is Leonardo Liu. So I'm telling you, it's a great training place, Jessica Hyatt. Oh, I forgot to mention, how dare I forget to mention Jessica Hyatt? Jessica Hyatt, highest rated African American girl ever. Beat two grandmasters already this year. She beat Yeah, even that the youngest grandmaster in history, she played him in Blitzstorm and beat him. So there's a lot of talent coming out of there. A lot of players come through that are unrated, and I always try to tell them like, listen, you really learn from playing these strong players because in my mind, the games that stick out to me the most when I was coming up, when I was playing at the Marshall or all these other clubs, I remember playing Sunil Romantri, which is Kara Nakamura's dad, and he was the first chess master I played. And I noticed that, like, hey, this guy's not coming out attacking me. He's just developing his pieces. And that really kind of changed my mindset. And then the first time I played an international master, that was Jay Bonin. And I was just looking at how he was playing. And I'm like, this guy's not playing. I used to, in my mind, I considered it stimulus response chess, where what do you call it? Like I attack, you defend, or every move, every action deserves a reaction. But then I realized, hey, no, that's not how he plays. He's just putting his pieces on squares that he wants them to go. And that's when I learned positional chess. So having access to these strong players, you really learn how to destroy you, and then you could give back the love to someone else.
Absolutely. I've always said, and people who have been listening to the podcast, in any tournament, like a 5-round tournament, I would want to play the top 5 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no matter how I do. If I go 0-5, because it's going to help my rating and my game long term. Like I might take an initial loss, but playing someone, 300-400 points lower than you who drops his queen on move 4, I mean, what are you really learning? Whereas you play higher rated players, you get a lesson every time. So I definitely agree. Now, Tyrell, I want to switch gears a little bit. You play a little bit in the parks in New York, like some speed chess. Can you tell me a little bit about that scene?
I just want to say, even playing players lower than you, it helps you to hold yourself accountable.
Yeah.
To not play so aggressive or to play more cautious and kind of see and expect where the player is supposed to fall apart, So, and also the fear of so playing players of all levels is really important. Very important, because then you learn how to gauge them. Now you were talking about the park scenes in New York. Okay. Yeah. So Washington Square Park is a really cool park that I used to play at coming up. But nowadays, when I walk into the park, they announce me. They like to say National Master in the building to make sure no one else spends money. The hustlers there to lose money there. Bryant Park. Bryant Park is also a nice, really cool park if you want to just hang out and play chess. I like that one. There's Marcus Garvey Park. That's also cool. But to be honest, I almost have to call up players before I decide to go to the park.
Yeah. No, well, what kind of at the parks, like what kind of time controls do they usually play there?
Okay, so at the parks, they like to play, some people like to play flat time, like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. That's the time controls that they used to like to play. What kind of time control you like to play?
Me, me, I'm a slowie. I'm not much of a speed chess person. That's kind of why I wanted you on, just to learn more about it. What I usually do when I play quick chess, I usually do like online. It depends. If we're online, I like 5-minute games with a 5-second delay. Something like that, or 10-minute games with a 5-second delay. If I'm doing a speed tournament in person, which I very rarely do, I would say, something similar to what your club does, like a 25-minute with a 5-second delay, or maybe like with 25 minutes, 5-second delay, or 15 minutes with a 5-second delay. But it's funny, at the Long Island Chess Club, we tried having some speed tournaments. Like we would do like a 7-round, 10-minute with a 5-second delay type thing, like a one-night event. I wasn't getting much interest in it. I don't know. A lot of our regulars prefer the slower time controls, but I do play online the quicker time controls more than I do in person. Not all the time. I kind of like the slower positional game. That's just me.
So that makes me think about when I first started playing Blitz. I remember I was at a friend's house and I was being introduced to Blitz, and we're using the analog clock. And I just remember kicking and screaming, mad, as I'm moving and saying, "This is not chess. This is not chess." You know, but the amount that you could learn by playing shorter time controls, you go through games so much faster. So now when you're calculating, you have experience to draw from, because you done been down these roads before. So playing all those games can be done in shorter time controls. And when it comes to calculation, it's like, because you have to do it at so much faster playing Blitz, that now when you have a long game, you're like, okay, this is here, this is here. Even though you do it slower because it's a long game, but you see it so much faster now, these ideas. I would recommend for you, Neil, to go through the kicking and screaming, play 3+2. That's ideally, I think, one of the better ones, because you almost have to train your intuition to trust yourself, and then being able to switch gears when your time goes up. Like, look back, hey, I got a few more seconds, I can breathe a little bit, to build that internal clock. But I've been coaching and I've had a lot of success working with these kids, and that's what I practice them on, 3+2, because they get the end game in there. I feel it's silly, truly silly, to play flat time, because you don't get to experience an end game. If you don't finish, if you just flag, you're not getting the worth out of the game. So you have to play with increment. Now your time is low, and now you have to bust out those moves,
Very interesting. Yeah. So in other words, it's an integral part of your training, even for classical time controls, playing quick chess.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
And definitely play all time controls. It helps you develop all time controls.
All right. That's interesting. Now you're kind of opening me up, because I think I was being too sort of rigid in my opinions, but you're bringing up a lot of ideas conceptually about the benefit of these quicker controls that I either didn't want to believe or maybe didn't think about enough. So that's interesting stuff. Definitely. I want to go back to the parks. We're bouncing around a little bit, which is fine. So we talked about the time controls. Now, how much money are they usually playing for? Is it like $5 a game, $10 a game, less than that? Just curious.
So in not only the parks, but Steinway, you can always pick up Blitz games there as well. But you have people that will play for free. You'll have some players that will play for $1 or $2. They'll play for $5. There are players that will play for 10s, 20s, 50s,
okay,
$100.
So it's all over the place.
It's all over the place. It's about what you feel comfortable with. What I would recommend is that, pay as you go. That's always cool. There's no disputes, and if you are gonna bet with someone, making sure it's a number that, hey, no problem, you can hold on to that one.
Right. Now, is there a certain code of conduct or decorum, or is there a lot of trash talk? Is that just in the movies, or is everyone pretty quiet and respectful, or does it get a little chippy sometimes?
Well, if you're going to play someone, you communicate what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with, what you desire, because the idea is that they want to keep you playing. That's the bottom line. So if you guys enjoy smack talking, then you guys smack talk. It actually is way more fun. It is a lot more fun.
Right. Well, I mean, that's not my style. I wouldn't do it, but I'm saying, is there a lot of smack talk? Do you see that with a lot of the games, or just sometimes?
Yeah, it's more often that it is some smack talking, but it all depends. Sometimes if you're not playing for anything, we will definitely smack talking. If you're playing for something, sometimes you smack talk. If the person communicates, hey, I don't want to do it this way, you can't. Then if you really want to keep playing with the person, then you're going to stop the smack talking. We communicate the rules of what's okay or not at the beginning. Touch, move, illegal move, you lose. Use only one hand when moving the pieces,
Right.
Just on your own time. All this is communicated. So the bottom line is, anyone that wants to play and wants to stay in that environment, they'll abide by the rules,
I understand. Now, what is generally the touch move rule in the parks? Is it like a USCF tournament where the clock has nothing to do with it? You touch it, you move it. Or in the parks, is it if you touch a piece, you can change your mind as long as you didn't hit your clock yet? What do most guys agree with for that?
Okay, so the way I communicate, and I'm also a tournament director, and I make sure I educate everyone that I come in contact with. Hey, these are the UFCF rules. This is how it's played by. So anyone that knows me, I've definitely made sure I communicated them, adjust on your own time and such. So I like to take these players to rated tournaments as well, and where they do some spanking, you know. So for the most part, if I do come in contact with any players that are not abiding by UFCF rules, I definitely educate them. And for the people that say, "But we're the same tournament. This is park chess," I said, "Well, go unless you got a rule book. This is the rule book that we're playing by, you know." And a lot of times I travel with my own equipment as well. So anyone that doesn't want to abide by it, then you'll have to go to another board, you know. And I'm pretty glad that that I am known as a national master, and they want to be able to play with me, so they come and play by the rules and learn and adapt. So in most cases, yeah, they play by UFCF rules.
Okay. Very, very cool. Now, Tyrell, talk to me a little bit about how you achieved master. Like, what age did that happen? Did you study a lot? Did you feel you had a lot of natural talent? Talk to me about your path to master.
So path to master, I was playing, I guess I learned how to play chess at 15. It was probably pretty late for most people. Went to my first chess tournament probably when I was 17, and I was playing a lot online I was playing a lot Chess Master. That was a huge tool. Chess Master was a huge, gigantic tool. Playing that computer, playing it on Nintendo, playing it on the computer, then playing it. Then the ICC came about. Big props to the ICC. Man, I was able to get all my chess on there. And especially after I wasn't playing in tournament chess at the Queen's Chess Club, because, work happens, all these other things happen. But then when you started beating a lot of IMs and GMs, then not that much at that time, but that was really good. And I ended up going to World Open in 2012, a matter of fact, in 2012. And I ended up playing in the under 2000 section and came in second place there. So that was pretty awesome. The only person I lost to was someone that they had accused of cheating. But I still didn't feel like fulfilled. So I went to my next tournament, the Continental Open, and I came in first place there. So I was really proud about that. Then Steve Emmett told me that he's going to push me up, that he's going to give me a floor of 2000, even though my rating wasn't official yet. And then I played in the under 2100 at Manhattan Open, came in first place there as well. And in between that time, I had played 3 grandmasters. The first grandmaster I played was Michael Rode, and I lost to him. And the second grandmaster I played was not Cashit. He's really, I'm sorry, why I can't remember this guy's name right now. But the second grandmaster I played, I ended up beating him, and that felt really great. And then the third grandmaster I played, which was Vladimir Romanenko, I beat him as well. So I was very shocked. I was like, wow, I have a plus score against grandmasters out of the 3 I played. I thought that was pretty amazing. And then the Manhattan Open happened, and that's when I saw Vladimir Romanenko coming in first place there. So that was pretty cool. So all this practice of playing on the ICC and all those online tournaments is really great. And then playing in like the World Open and these tournaments is really good. Even though I was beating all those players and playing actively in tournament chess, it still took me, I was about 2000, made it about 2150. It still took me 2 years before I made national master. And then I went to, right before I made it, I ended up going to Millionaire Chess, which was one of the really great tournaments, one of the best tournaments I ever went to, because I was trying to play in the under 2200 section, and they put me in the open section. I was kicking and screaming. I lost round 1, I lost round 2, I lost round 3, I lost round 4. Round 5, they gave me a bye. I was like, all right, this is the momentum I needed. I lost round 6. I lost round 7. It was a real ego thing for me. And then round 8, I won, and round 9, I won. When I came back, I immediately beat 2 GMs the next tournament, and then I made national master.
Your strength and achieving that rating, it came mostly from all the playing. It sounds like you did a lot more playing than studying. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did a lot of playing, but you know what? If you play, you're making rules in your mind of how you're going to adapt and how you're not going to fall into the same thing. You could read. I did read a lot of books, also not so much, but more like Silman's. I thought Silman's book was really good. 100 Endgames You Must Know. I thought that was also really useful because you really got to know endgames. Tactics books. I was really good at tactics. As a matter of fact, there was an app called Tactic Trainer, and I was playing guys like James Canty, and they we didn't actually know each other in person yet, but they were like, they were saying, I know you from somewhere. I know you. And then it was like, and then one guy said, I know, you're the Tactic Trainer dude. And Tactic Trainer was an app, and I was #1 on Tactic Trainer for like a lot of months. And I was like, yeah, he is the Tactic Trainer dude. That was a great app. I love that app. Right now, apps that I would recommend is Chess King. They have some really great apps too, like CTR and all those in the Endgame course. Those are really awesome.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of tactics training for you, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Do the tactics training, play the games, lead chess, and faster time controls. Make rules. Make rules for yourself to what works good. And definitely having a coach is really good to like kind of guide you along the way.
Now, did you have a coach?
So Juan Sena was my first coach that I ended up paying. And it was pretty funny because I was paying him and he would go over my games. And he would tell me, he was like, hey, why are you not following what I gave, the advice I told you? And he's like, so why are you paying me? You know, and it made a lot of sense. It's like, why are you going to the doctor and you're not taking the pills that the doctor prescribes to you? You know, how are you going to get better? So it was just, you know, chess players are stubborn. They gotta learn. They gotta be broken sometimes.
Did you spend a lot of time analyzing your games when you were up and coming and working your way up to master?
I think I did analyze games because remember, I play like the same opening. Anyone that knows me, I play like the same openings. And I calibrate to what works and what doesn't work. So yes, I do analyze and go over it because I'm playing the same openings. So I learned these ideas. I've done a lot of studying. Yes.
For our final segment, and I know you touched on this a little bit, let's talk about strategies and tips for speed chess, how players, can get better. Any ideas you want to share just about openings, about, styles of play? Maybe it's a mindset, anything you want to share.
Okay. So one of my biggest mindsets is some people give up, they resign, and I feel like they're cheating themselves because on the road to master, there's going to be a lot of games that you should have lost, but you didn't. And actually, you have to learn how to deal with the pressures of with the setbacks of what happens. So even if you lose your queen, you're down a ridiculous amount of pieces. I almost sit there and I use it as a way of punishing myself that, I shouldn't have made those bad moves. So now we're going to play it out. And right before the person checkmates me, if there's not absolutely no other move, then I'll resign because I don't want them to have the glory of actually checkmating me. So it's like I'm playing a game against myself, even though they're on the other side, of course. With the role of tactics, definitely do your tactics. Definitely look over the mating ideas. Practice, mating with the rook, mating with the queen, bishop and knight mate. I used to enjoy doing that on the ICC. I thought the ICC had a lot of great tools for that, as a matter of fact. Even the queen and rook checkmate, it took me years, king and rook versus queen and rook. And when I finally did it, I was so happy to learn that type of piece coordination. Positional thinking, you're really chess master extremely useful. Chess Master Grandmaster Edition. That's like the absolute best coach. Josh Waiton's course on there was super phenomenal. And I still use it this day. Uh, so much material on there. Like, if you can't have a regular coach, you definitely want to go through that. Opening choices. Well, I used to play the Queen's Gambit Decline. And I used to just play E4 when I didn't have any openings. But then when I went to my first chess tournament, and I basically got destroyed. And then that's when I learned about the idea of all these openings. And I was like, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to remember all of this stuff. And then I just stayed here playing Chess Master. And I said, oh, how can I create something? And I ended up coming up with the Black Lion system, which is a universal opening for Black, where I was able to, based on the principles that Saint told me, develop king side and castle. I was able to follow that. And then I started winning a lot of tournaments and games with that opening, just by getting your king safe, get your king out of the center. So that's one. And then I ended up coming up with the Stonewall after playing on the ICC. Man, I owe a lot to ICC. After playing on the ICC, and I realized that I didn't like, giving them all that activity on my queen side with playing C4. And that's when I said, if I don't like it, then just play C3. And I said, I like my knight on E5. So then I said, okay. And then I reinforced that. And that's how I came up with my Stonewall attack. So with Blitz, you get to practice all these ideas and create your own little stuff. So then when you go out there, that was the next thing. That's why I was successful at World Open. I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to try anything new. I'm going to stick to the plan. And that was really successful.
I think what you said that really stuck with me, the advantage of all these quick games is the volume. You're getting in so many games that, as opposed to, let's say, like one game that's a classical time control, you're doing several quick games. It's some good stuff, because a lot of people think, well, I don't want to do quick chess because it's going to hurt your classical game. But you've clearly explained that playing these quicker time controls can benefit your slow game, right?
Yes, gigantically. When I was Hikaru Nakamura also, because when I was playing, he was there, and I remember him playing a lot of bullet chess in person with his brother. He got good playing bullet chess, and I look at the fact that chess is a game where you learn to adapt. It teaches you must adapt to whatever changes on the board. And so when I started teaching in the schools, and people are like, oh, all these long time controls, I'm like, they don't have anything to think about. They have no experience to draw from. So playing these shorter time controls, you gain experience. Also, again, I must stress, play with the increment. So you get to finish these end games. You have things to learn from. You have to play the whole game.
I was going to say, I won't even play. It doesn't matter, online, in person, rated, unrated. I won't play unless there's an increment. Although that's pretty standard. It's not. It used to be, when time delay first came onto the chess scene, it was sort of this fringe kind of tangential movement, but now it's pretty standard. Most players, I think, kind of expect to use it now, but it's changed the game in such dramatic ways. Because what you said is true. You could be in an end game where maybe you only have 45 seconds left, but if you have the better end game and you know what you need to do, that 5-second delay is enough to hold it and win it.
If you really want to see improvement, I feel you got to keep playing tournaments, because one, you're being around players that are serious just like you at getting better. And they'll give you some tips along the way. You make some good friends, and, you get stronger from hanging out with stronger players, at least that's definitely what happened with me. And, even the blitz players, some of them don't play tournaments, but they're pretty tough. They're pretty tough. So I also think, Steinway, in my opinion, I've been around the city. That's like the spot where all these strong players come out to hang out, and I've tried to pull some of your Long Island crew. Had some players come through, and definitely guys come through and play.
Well, we Long Island people, we get Long Island syndrome. If we have to drive more than 10 minutes, if we have to drive more than 10 minutes to get anywhere, we get a little, I'm joking. For those of you, because we have listeners from everywhere, Long Island is one of those places where pretty much anything you need is within 5-10 minutes away, right? There's food shopping, Home Depot, clothes. I mean, everything is like right there. So, traveling into the city for some of us is like a big deal. Not for me, but, for some people, it's like driving into Manhattan. They make it sound like they're going halfway across the country, right? Or even Queens.
Yeah. You know what? I also thought that was funny because here I go to all these spots to go and play chess, like Marshall Chess Club, Connecticut. And, I'm at the Marshall, and some of these guys make it sound like, oh, how long is the train ride? Okay, it's 25 minutes. And that's too much. I'm like, really? That's too much? Meanwhile, I got to come all the way out to you all the time, driving like an hour. I just thought that was interesting, but I was like a nice little midway location. And, if you want the quality or the competition and you want the results, you got to go where you want to go. My favorite saying is, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. And it just brought me all the ideas about COVID. And I really wanted, like I said, I started running these chess tournaments because I was 10 games away from making Original Life Master. And with everybody playing online, I said, man, if I wait until this pandemic is over, I might not be able to make those 10 games. So I started running those tournaments, and I was able to make it and get the floor. And then there's also my student, Jessica Harriott, who's trying to get to 2,200. And, she was the next person that also inspired me to keep these games going. And then to me, honestly, when I think about it, it's like, how is this even possible that there's never been an African-American girl that's been a chess master? But, I just keep saying to myself, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse.
We're in Nassau County. I have guys coming from Suffolk, like way out east. I mean, they're driving an hour or more each way because in Suffolk County, for those of you who don't know, Long Island and New York, there's two main counties. There's Nassau County, which is on the west side, that's closer to the city. And then there's Suffolk County, which is out east. And in Suffolk County, there are literally no USCF rated clubs out there. I mean, I get emails, Tyrell, at least like 2 a week. I'll get a message. Do you know of any USCF rated clubs in Suffolk? All the time. And, there's nothing out there. So they're driving an hour each way to play at my club, which says something, but it's like you said, you'll find a way. I mean, we had one guy who was driving that and he goes, look, I want to do it. I love the game. And I can either just not do it or deal with the drive and do something I enjoy. But it's like you said, you'll find a way to do it.
I also want to give a shout out to Frank Patchouli. He's coming all the way from Suffolk. He walks with a limp and he has trouble. And he even makes it all the way over to the Marshall Chess Club to support, even in COVID. The man says, chess is what keeps him alive. Also, big shout out. He was my roommate in World Open when I won big. And then in Continental Open, where we both went to roommated again, we both won first and second place. So big shout out to Frank Patchouli. That's like one of my day one dudes right there. And he carpools people also. He's coming from Suffolk, guys.
Yeah, that's it. Come out from Suffolk. Now, he's playing in our current tournament now. We have the last round is this week. He's good people, and he's still playing well. He's still playing well. He's definitely has a lot of games. So that's cool. All right. So National Master Tyrell Harriott, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil. Shout out to the club and looking forward to coming in and playing some more again.
Absolutely. We're here. And I know you don't mind making the drive.
Yeah, I was going to say kingsofqueenschess.com. My YouTube is False Hope. Oh, False Hope with a Z. FALZE. Hope. All right. Thanks.
No, you got it. We're going to link all that up in the show notes so everybody can check that out. Good stuff. And we appreciate everybody listening. And as always, I hope you win your next game. Have a great day.